Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely unpack the narrative beats of a deeply emotional, really beautiful cinematic script called The Last Seat by the Window. I absolutely love stories like this. You know, the kind that show us exactly how our most ordinary, mundane routines can just suddenly become extraordinary. So we're going to settle in with a warm storyteller vibe today, and we'll explore how two total strangers on a rainy city bus manage to build a profound, genuinely life-changing connection. So, what happens when a stranger takes the empty seat beside you on a rainy night in Chicago? Well, we start our narrative arc with our protagonist, Ethan Miller. He's this quiet, 24-year-old guy who works at a small bookstore and secretly harbors this big dream of becoming a writer. And Ethan's routine is totally set in stone. Every single evening, he takes the 6:15 bus, and he always chooses the exact same spot, the last seat by the window. Now, he doesn't sit there just to be alone. He sits there to watch the golden sunset-lit city of Chicago disappear behind the rainy glass. For him, it's the quietest, most peaceful part of his day. That is, until one rainy evening when a 23-year-old ambitious photographer named Olivia Carter boards that bus and sits right beside him. Which brings us to Section 1, the first conversation, where a silent bus ride breaks. Okay, let's dive right into this first encounter. For several long minutes on that bus, neither of them says a single word. But then, the silence finally breaks. Olivia looks over and notices that Ethan is carefully writing something down in a small notebook. She simply asks, "What are you writing?" And Ethan, who is completely caught off guard and super protective of his secret passion for writing short stories, quickly snaps the notebook shut. He tries to just brush off her curiosity, replying, "Nothing important." It's that classic knee-jerk defensive mechanism we all use, right? When someone accidentally stumbles upon something we care deeply about. But Olivia, she doesn't just let it go. She smiles and replies, "People usually say that when they're writing something important." And this is just brilliant. It perfectly illustrates Olivia's sharp intuition. She sees right through his defense. Her response actually prompts Ethan to laugh quietly, which, by the way, is his very first smile of the entire day. She completely hooks his attention right before her stop arrives, and she disappears into the Chicago rain. And she leaves him wishing, literally for the first time in months, that his bus ride wouldn't end. Moving right along to Section 2, a city of little moments, where they go from strangers to friends. The very next evening, Ethan completely breaks his routine. He arrives at the bus stop early, at 6:05, instead of his usual time. He tells himself it's just to avoid the rain, but internally, he knows he is desperately hoping to see her again. When 6:15 rolls around, he boards the bus, and there she is, sitting in the exact same last seat by the window. When she points out that he's late, he mentions he was actually early, and her response is this incredibly impactful piece of dialogue. She says, "Then I guess I was waiting for you." This single line changes absolutely everything. It firmly establishes their new routine of meeting on the 6:15 bus, slowly but surely shifting their dynamic from two anonymous strangers passing in the night to genuine friends. Now, what's really fascinating here is how their contrasting personalities perfectly complement each other. You have Ethan, who is quiet, writes stories about the city's buildings, and absolutely loves moody, rainy evenings. And then on the other side, you have Olivia. She's ambitious. She actually photographs those very same old buildings, and she is totally captivated by golden sunsets. They are different in almost every single way, but these distinct differences in how they view the city, they actually complete each other's story. They fill in each other's blanks perfectly. And their friendship just rapidly grows through these shared experiences. Picture this romantic, cinematic montage playing out. Step 1. They spend a Saturday walking through the colorful downtown streets of Chicago. Step 2. They visit Ethan's cozy little bookstore. Step 3. They explore the city, photographing its stunning architecture. Step 4. Warming up with hot chocolate at a tiny cafe. And finally, Step 5. Laughing helplessly when a sudden rainstorm ruins Olivia's perfectly planned photos, forcing them to take shelter beneath an old bridge. It's right there, listening to the rain, that Ethan has a massive realization. He is no longer waiting for the bus every evening. He is waiting for her. This brings us to Section 3, the choice to leave, involving a distant dream. Just as their connection deepens into something unspoken but incredibly real, we hit the story's central conflict. Things slow way down. Olivia suddenly becomes distant, she stops taking the 6:15 bus entirely, and their conversations become really short. Why? Well, it turns out she has just received a dream job offer from a prestigious photography company in New York, and she's terrified to tell him. Ethan is left completely confused until he finds a candid photograph Olivia had taken of him on the bus, hidden inside his notebook. On the back, she left this beautiful, totally heartbreaking message. Some people arrive in your life quietly, but leave behind a memory that never becomes quiet. Reading this, Ethan knows he can't just let her disappear. He rushes to the bus stop the next evening and waits. When she doesn't board the bus, he spots her across the street, standing with a suitcase, tears in her eyes, ready to leave for New York that very night. He confronts her, and she admits she didn't tell him because she was so afraid he would ask her to stay. And this right here is where we see the true depth of Ethan's character. Despite his own heartbreak, he looks at her and says, "I would never ask you to give up your dream." It's an incredibly selfless moment. He puts her ambition and her future far ahead of his own immediate happiness. Olivia, completely surprised, asks him, "Then what would you ask?" And Ethan replies, "I'd ask you not to give up on us." This is such a powerful turning point in the narrative. Instead of forcing her to choose between her career and their connection, they establish a mature, real foundation of commitment. They are bracing themselves for the difficult distance ahead, choosing to fight for what they have built. Next up is Section 4, 1 year later, focusing on the distance between them. Let's look at how this builds over the course of a very difficult year apart. Because, long-distance relationships are incredibly challenging, and their story definitely doesn't shy away from that reality. Over the course of this year-long timeline, you can really see the immense effort it took to keep their bond alive. Months 1 through 3 are just brutal. Different schedules, missed calls, unread messages, and that constant fear that the distance is erasing them. But they actively maintain their connection. They commit to phone calls every single Sunday. Every month, they mail each other something physical, a photograph, a handwritten note, a page from a story. Fast forward to the end of year 1, Ethan finally achieves his dream. He finishes his first novel. And because she always believed in his stories, he finds the courage to box up the manuscript and send it to her. 3 agonizing days pass after he sends it. Then Ethan's phone lights up with a message from Olivia. "I'm coming to Chicago." His heart just stops. The very next evening, he returns to their spot, the 6:15 bus stop. The doors open and Olivia steps out, camera in hand. When Ethan asks if she's back for good, she says, "Not exactly." And this is the crucial point, the revelation she shares next. Olivia completely redefines the concept of home. She tells Ethan that she came back because she realized that home isn't always a physical place on a map. Sometimes it's a person who makes you feel like you belong. She returned to Chicago because she realized, without a doubt, she belonged with him. Which leads us to Section 5, choosing each other again on the exact same bus route. We've reached our final resolution. They step onto that 6:15 bus together, they walk down the aisle and sit in the exact same last seat by the window. Outside, the familiar Chicago lights and rain move past them, just like they did a year ago. But the two of them, they're different now. Ethan opens his notebook, and the narrative brilliantly brings us completely full circle. Olivia looks over and asks the exact same question she asked on the very first day. "What are you writing?" But this time, Ethan doesn't hide it. He smiles and says, "The story of how I met you." It's this beautifully resonant callback, but now it's layered with a profound depth of love, history, and real understanding. When Olivia laughs and asks if she can finally read it, Ethan just closes the notebook and says, "Not yet." Why? Because, as he tells her, the story isn't finished. Their story is still ongoing, still being written with every passing day. And as Olivia notes, looking out that rainy window, that is perhaps the best part of all. As the bus continues through the glowing streets, we get to the overarching thematic takeaway of this entire script. Love isn't always a grand, dramatic, movie-perfect moment, and it isn't always about being together every single second of the day. Sometimes love requires immense patience. Sometimes it requires painful distance and believing in someone's dream even when it means you have to miss them. Ultimately, love is a continuous, intentional action. It's about choosing the same person again and again. Which leaves us with a final thought to ponder as we wrap up this explainer. The most beautiful stories aren't just about finding someone. They are about that daily, active choice. So, I leave you with this. If the most beautiful stories are about choosing someone again and again, who are you choosing?